the storm with your heart. Play the storm with your heart.
At one time.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, man. All right, let's go to the next topic. I want to talk about the Celtics. I was having this conversation with my cousin the other day when the Lakers beat the Celtics without LeBron and AD. And we sort of talked about the Celtics and are they really should are they really a threat? Are we overrating them a little bit? Because they did lose they lost to the Nuggets, albeit it was a 2-point game. They lost to the Nuggets at home. And they got they ass whooped by the Clippers at home as well.
They
And then
lost to the Bucks too.
they lost to the Bucks. They got their ass whooped by the Bucks in that whole situation with Adrian Griffin.
They even lost to the Warriors.
They lost to the Warriors, and then they lost to the Lakers at home without LeBron and AD. Here's my thing. This is why I bring this up because they're the number one seed right now, and they're looked at as the number one contender out of the East. But here's my thing. I was talking to my cousin, and we were sort of looking at it like when the playoffs roll around, if you have good coaching and if you have players that can execute in the fourth quarter, the Boston Celtics can be had. I'm looking
Yeah.
at the Miami Heat, and I started to look at the Miami Heat, and I was thinking they did lose Gabe Vincent, and then they did lose Max Strus. But who did they bring in as the replacements? They drafted this player. He was
Jamie Jaquez, I think that's his name.
yeah, who's been playing tremendous for them. And then they traded for Terry Rozier, who's a really good scorer as well. And I'm thinking, well, if they can get this together and they can sort of get their offense, specifically their 3-point shooting together, like they did last year in the playoffs, because I think entering the playoffs, they were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league. But then all of a
Yep.
sudden they just caught fire for whatever reason. If they can get that together, they're dangerous, just like they were last year. Because when it comes down to the playoffs, if you have a guy that you can give the ball to in the fourth quarter and he can execute like Jimmy Butler, and then you have good coaching and you can defend, which the Miami Heat have always been able to do in the past. Spolstra, the Miami Heat culture, they're going to be dangerous again. And I'm looking at the Celtics, and what is their Achilles heel? Not being able to execute in the fourth quarter. They're not the toughest team in the world. For crying out loud, Marcus Smart was their leader and their sort of enforcer, and they traded him away. I like Drew Holiday, but that's not who he is. He's not an enforcer. He's not a tough guy. I wouldn't even call him necessarily like the de facto leader. So you don't have a leader, you don't have an enforcer, and if Kristaps Porzingis, for whatever reason, knock on wood, gets injured, you have no big men. So they're really gambling this year that there's no injuries and that they'll have a comfortable lead where it's not going to come down to that. But I don't think that's going to be the case. And for that reason, they can be had in the playoffs. What is your reaction to that?
I've been said the Celtics was funny money. They're like every regular season they do these great things. They get the one seed and they get to the playoffs. They get as far as the conference finals and they just fold. And it seems like at this point, is it too far to say that they're like the NBA Cowboys?
No,
X
no, no.
minus the fact they went to a finals and then went to matter of fact, no, they're the NFL
They're the
49ers.
Packers. No, they're the Packers.
The Packers.
Yeah, you know why I say the
Okay.
Packers? They're the Packers with Aaron Rodgers from 2020, 2021. And here's why. They look great in the regular season. They have a really good record. You know what I'm saying? They have a really good record. They have all Embiid, they have talent all over. Like they have Aaron Rodgers, he's playing out of his mind. You have Aaron Jones, you have Devontae Adams, you have all these players. But then when you enter the playoffs, you get you're gonna get to the NFC Championship game. But then you're knocking on the door, right? But you can never open it. You can never get through that door. There's always somebody standing in your way that is either not as talented, but is better coached, and that for whatever reason, just from defense to offense, they're all clicking. While your team, for whatever reason, when it matters most, it's just not clicking that day. And I look at the Celtics, and it just reminds me so much of my Packers.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, like the Celtics, they're good. Like they'll beat the teams they're supposed to beat. But like I'm not too confident in making like a big run and going. It's not a sure thing they're going to make the finals in my opinion. Especially with Joe Mazzulla as the coach. I'm not even too sure if he's what kind of tier of coach he is, because we don't really hear much about him, like Celtics fans. And it seems like Celtics fans usually they're more boisterous and things like it's New England sports. They're like when they're good, they're annoying you. But like this year, I haven't really been hearing anything from Celtics fans. It's like they don't even believe their team is as good as their record says. So I mean, I can't take them seriously as a surefire contender because, like you said, they can be had. They like and I haven't really been paying attention this season, but I've been getting more into it. I can't think of like a real signature win that they had recently.
I think they may have beaten the Bucks one time, and they had a pretty solid win. But then they
Yeah, I think
lost to
that was
them by
earlier
like
in the
30.
season. Yeah.
Exactly. It was earlier in the season. They beat Minnesota. That was a great
Oh yeah,
win.
they
They
did.
did
They
they
did do
did
that.
that was an impressive win because because Anthony Edwards was getting it going in the first half, but then by that fourth quarter, man, they were locking him down. They weren't able to execute their offense at all. So I was really impressed by that win. Besides that, I can't think of any other team that they had like a really impressive win. I think Indiana's had their number. I think they did cook Miami though, but again, Miami, they're still trying to get it
Oh,
together.
they did just beat the Pacers,
They did, but the Pacers have
but that was
had
that
their
was Halliburton's first game back.
yeah. So that you got to take that to account. But I can't really think of another signature win where I look at them and I say, "Damn, they did that to that team." Like I can't really think besides like maybe Milwaukee. And I know Miami, they cooked Miami like last week. So those are only two games I can really think of. I can't really think of another one. And also Minnesota. I can't really think of another one.
They lost to the Thunder too.
Yeah, So yeah. I mean, they have a nice roster, but it's just do you trust Jason Tatum? Do you trust Jalen Brown when it matters most?
I know I don't.
It's gonna come down to them. And I look at Jason Tatum, and he's gotten stronger. He's gotten a lot stronger, but at the end of the day, like I look at a lot of these teams, whatever, and they put like their wing defender on him, and they can prevent him to go into his spots a lot of times. Like he settles for a lot of shots in the fourth quarter when it matters most. So how can you trust somebody like that when he can't get to a spot to when it matters most, and he settles for like a step back three, or he settles for like a very contested shot. You can't really trust that.
Yeah, and especially his late game decision making. Sometimes I'm like, what is he doing?
And then the play design, and then Joe Mazzulla's coaching as well when it matters most. Like you can't really trust him with his decision making. Like he still has some growing pains to go. Still has some growing to do as a coach. And they can be had. They're so talented that maybe they can overcome it because of the talent. But playoffs, man, it's a different beast.
Yeah.
Cold world, still a cold world. And a couple of y'all is cool, but we a little more thorough. Whole time, a little more girls. You know I spit that sick shit and it's still no cure. Hola, loud packs like I got